I just got approved and funded for my PPP loan all in one day. After months of waiting, I finally got approved and an email stating that I had to show up that same day to sign my loan documents without really even getting a chance to review them. I even asked the loan officer, could you send me the loan agreement so I can review it before coming? Did they send it? Nope, absolutely not. But I knew that I can actually pay this money back if I didn't like the terms. So in this video, I'm gonna go over all the terms that you need to know about before you accept this loan if you haven't gotten it yet. If you have gotten it, I'm going to tell you some strategies that I'll probably implement in order to make sure that I maximize the amount of money I can spend to pay down debt and maximize the amount of money I can get forgiven. As you know, some of the highlights of this loan are that you can be forgiven for any payroll money that's used within 2.5 months of the time that you receive the money. So you want to make sure that you use the money for that first, because you can actually pay your employees, you can pay yourself a salary, but it has to be the same amount of salary that you were paying them in 2019. If you take a reduced salary, or if you give them a reduced salary, then your loan forgiveness will also be reduced. You're also allowed to not rehire people back if you've made a good faith effort in trying to get that person to come back. They actually have a form that you have to fill out and they have to sign stating that they've declined to come back, as some people will decline to come back because they're making more money with unemployment than they probably were going to make if you hired them back. So I'll leave a link to that document down in the description section. So let's look at some of the other things. We have 75% of it must be used for payroll. We spoke about that. There's no payments for 6 months. For the first 6 months, you have no payments whatsoever. There's no collateral and there's no personal guarantees. This is not really all 100% true. In their loan agreement, it actually states that if you default, they have the right to come after your business assets and they can sell your business assets in order to recuperate the money that they've given you for this loan. All right, so then we know that the loan matures in 2 years. That we pretty much all know. So after 6 months, you start making payments based on whatever portion of the loan is not forgiven. So let's just say you got $100,000. You spent 75% of it on payroll, which is $75,000. You have $25,000 left over. Then you start making payments on the $25,000 in 6 months' time. But it's not as simple as it sounds, because the interest starts to accrue from the day that you took the loan. So any interest payments from day 1 to month number 6 have to be paid first. So when you look at your mortgage statement, you see that a piece goes to principal and a piece goes to interest. Well, what's going to happen is your entire payment starting month 6 will go strictly all to interest for the first 6 months in which you didn't pay any interest at all. So make sure you understand that, because they're doing it exactly the way that they do student loans. Student loans are the same way. All the deferment time, all that interest you didn't pay during that deferred time, you have to pay first. And this is exactly what they've done with this PPP loan. So make sure you understand that. Okay, so then we know we have to rehire or replace employees for the same positions, and we have to maintain those employees, and we have to maintain their salaries. If we decrease their salaries or if we decrease employees, that portion of the loan will not be forgiven and has to be factored in when it's time to calculate what portion is going to be forgiven. So just a few days ago, the SBA released the loan forgiveness application, which is 11 pages. And I'm not going to go through that application in this video because there's plenty of other videos showing you step by step on how to do that. In this video, I'm only going to cover what are the potential pitfalls if you default on this loan, or what are the potential downsides of taking this loan, and what are some of the good things about taking the PPP loan. Now, here's just a side note. If you have some pretty high caliber employees, or if you're thinking of giving yourself a chunky salary, you can't pay anyone, including yourself, more than $15,385 in the 8-week period. So make sure you do those calculations before you start to put this plan into effect. And while I'm on the topic, this is exactly what you should do. If you get X amount, let's just say you got $100,000, you have to basically, down to the penny, make sure you know what you're going to spend this money on. And I'll go one step further in telling you that you should have a separate bank account. If you believe that I'm giving you guys a lot of great information, please consider giving this video a like so it can get in front of a lot more people such as yourself. The way that YouTube works is that the more likes a video gets, the more likely it is to be seen by others. So please give me a thumbs up. But before we create the plan, we have to understand completely what are the things we're able to use this money on. So I'm going to read right off of the loan agreement itself, and I'm going to explain to you what you can use this money on. So number 1 would be payroll. Obviously, we spoke about that. Costs related to continuation of group health care benefits. So if there's a health care benefits in place, you can pay for those things out of this money. So that's pretty simple. Mortgage interest payments. So mortgage interest payments, but only on mortgages in which your business resides. I know some people have been asking me, okay, I run my business from my home. Can I use the mortgage on my home as interest? Well, that's a really gray area. You have to talk to your accountant about that. But what I do suggest that you do is talk to your accountant about possibly creating a lease for your business that is housed within your home. So for instance, if your home was owned under your name, John Smith, and you had a company called ABC Inc., well, ABC Inc. would then be renting space from John Smith. You guys can create a lease, talk to your accountant about doing this, and make sure that it's all above board for your state or on a federal level. I'm just giving you an idea of what I would do if I'm housing my business from my house. Okay, so rent payments, definitely 100%. Your entire rent payment can be paid from this money. Utility payments are also able to be paid from this money. Again, if your business is from your house and you have utilities that you use, make sure that instead of paying those utilities separately, because it gets really crazy if you try to show how much utilities you use based on your consumption versus the home's consumption, unless that portion of the house you're using has different meters, then it would be okay. So utilities, if you're working from home, you might as well just include that into your rent payments. Okay, so this is a big one here. Next, we have interest payments on any other debt obligations that were incurred before February 15th, 2020. So what this means is that if you had a credit card for the business, any expenses that you incurred before that date in February, you can actually use the money from this loan and actually pay them down or pay them off. So let's just say you racked up $10,000 prior to February. Then what you could do is you can take a portion of this money, no more than 25% if you want to maximize your forgiveness, and pay off as much as that credit card as possible. Because remember, credit cards are usually running around 18 to 24% interest, but if you use the PPP money, you're only going to have 1% interest. Even though it's a very short amount of time, fixed time, it's actually a really good thing because you'll pay off that money by a certain date no matter what, because those payments are expected to come in. So I would definitely consider using the money for that. Okay, and the last thing they allow you to do is actually refinance your EIDL loan. If you took out a $50,000 EIDL loan and you received a $100,000 PPP loan, you can actually take $50,000 from your PPP loan and pay off your EIDL loan. Now you might be asking yourself, why would someone do that? Well, remember, the EIDL loan carries a 3.75% interest rate, and your PPP loan only carries a 1% interest rate. The downside to that is that the PPP loan has to be paid in 2 years, but the EIDL loan can be paid over 30 years. So what that means is your payment is going to be much higher, but that's okay for some of you who want to pay down your debt quicker. And the other part that you need to know about it is that your EIDL loan doesn't start making payments for 1 year. Meanwhile, the PPP loan expects you to start making payments after 6 months. So if your business is already taking off and doing better, that might be a good option for you. But if you think you're going to need more time before you start making payments, you're probably better off keeping your EIDL loan in place. Now, you can have the both simultaneously, you just can't use both loans for the same purpose. Now, once you deplete your PPP money, you can then start using your EIDL money for the same thing, such as payroll. So if your payroll is exhausted after 8 weeks and you still need help paying payroll, then you can use the EIDL money for that. Now let's talk about how some of the ways you can default on this loan. And I'm going to read this right from the loan agreement. Number one would be defaulting on any loan agreement with any other creditor. So if you have other creditors and you default on their loan agreements, it could also mean that you defaulted on this loan. It doesn't really make much sense because one thing shouldn't have anything to do with another. As long as they get their money back, that's really all that should matter. One of the other things in this loan agreement is that your taxes have to be paid on time. And you know, as business owners, sometimes our taxes get paid much later with an extension. So just make sure that your taxes are paid on time this year. If you file bankruptcy, that could be a reason for you also to be in default of this loan. So make sure that you're not in a position to go into bankruptcy anytime soon. Okay, so if you have any mergers or if you sell your business, you have to let the SBA know. And if you don't, that could constitute you being in default. So make sure if you plan on selling your business or even giving it to your son or daughter or a loved one and you're going to step out, make sure that the SBA recognizes the new ownership, and that new owner may then have to sign the loan agreement as well. And lastly, you know, as business owners, sometimes we may find ourselves in some legal trouble. either civil or criminal issue, even if we're not guilty and we still have to defend ourselves, we may be in default of this loan if those matters arise. So make sure that you understand that 100%. In this next section, I just want to make you aware that if you knowingly make a misrepresentation that could be considered fraud, they come with very steep penalties. By imprisonment of not more than 30 years and a fine of not more than $1 million. So if you're the type of person that does not want to get in trouble because you think that you might be doing something wrong with the money, either you want to check twice before you spend that money, or you may want to just give it back or not apply at all. Now, see, some people out there think that the PPP loan is better than anything else out there. Well, to be honest with you, some people are actually better off collecting unemployment and the PUA instead of going down this road because, as you know, the PUA and unemployment, they don't really come with any strings attached. And some people will actually be getting more money with unemployment than they would with this PPP loan. It comes with a bunch of strings attached. Okay, here's something else that I want to talk to you about. The lender's right if there is a default. Obviously, they can do a lot of things, but this is one of the things that really caught my attention. And they can take possession of any collateral. Any collateral. Even though there wasn't any collateral pledged, they can take possession of any collateral if you default. That leaves a lot of space for them to basically do what they want. And you're agreeing to these terms, you better be very sure that you can pay this money back. Next is lender's general powers. Without notice and without borrower's consent, lender may substitute any of the collateral. So if you have business assets, they can substitute that collateral with anything, which means even your personal collateral, even though they state that there is no personal guarantees or collateral to pledge. So their actual loan terms contradict what their guidelines say. That makes me feel very uncomfortable with taking this money. Okay, so it's not all bad. I mean, look, if you really have a necessity for this money, if you really have a use for this money, then let's go ahead and put it to use. The problem you're gonna come up against is that the employees that you had before, they may not wanna come back because they are sitting pretty right now. They're making a lot more money than probably what you were paying them before, or even if it's the same or less money, they're making it with a lot less effort. So the government understands this, and they have in place this form that you have to fill out that shows that you made every good faith effort to get them back on the books. Now, they will let you off the hook for that employee if they sign that, so that's a relief. That's a good thing because it's really hard right now to get people to come back to work when they're already getting used to just being home and collecting. But that's going to end down the road. But from the time being, from now to then, it's going to be a long process. So do I think the PPP loan is bad? Not necessarily. It could be a very good thing, and it could be awesome if you spend the whole thing on payroll. So you might actually be in a better position than you actually were before if you're able to just use it all on payroll. And that's why they're making the penalties so steep, and they're trying to scare you into using it because they want it to go to the right place. They're entrusting us with this money. Obviously, it's not free money, but it could be very close to free if we put the right game plan in place. So the first thing I would do is contact every employee I had. And any employee who does not want to come back, I would have them sign that document that states that you're off the hook for that person and that money can be forgiven as well. And then I'd find out how many people do I have left and how much money can I allocate towards payroll that I have to allocate towards payroll. And then with that money that's left over that doesn't have to be used for payroll, I would try to pay down as much debt as possible. Now, before you take any actions, make sure you contact your CPA, your accountant, or your attorney. This is not legal advice. I'm not giving you advice on how to do your own personal finances. I'm just telling you what I would do if I was in your position or what I'm going to do in my position with the money I've been given. We're in the process of creating one of the largest real estate teams across all 50 states. If you're in real estate sales or you're considering getting into real estate sales, I'd love to speak with you. I'm going to leave a link down below in the description section where you can schedule a quick chat with me. As always, we want to thank you for watching. If you think I provided you with a lot of value today, please consider subscribing to this channel. Also hit the notification bell so you can be alerted when any new videos drop. And if you really liked it, make sure you share it with a friend. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Be careful of the PPP loan.
Okay, so one of the things you have to understand, there's two squirrels over there.